There she is. All right, y'all, here's my next project. I got this for free. It's not mine, but I may end up getting it at some point. I'm not sure, but just gonna work on it. It's been sitting for a while. This side this side looks great. It could use a repaint, but other than that, it looks really good. The other side looks like it's been around some just some dirt and dust and all that good stuff. So that was a side that was exposed to something. Either way, we're looking at a 25 horse Johnson. Haven't looked up the year model yet, but it looks to be around a 96, maybe 98, something like that. It is all manual. It did not come with electric start on this model. I know the light's playing tricks on this thing here, but it's all manual. Not even a wire coming out of this thing, so that's good. Makes it easy. Pull off the lid, and this thing underneath the cowling is just looking amazing. I expected to find a lot more grime and stuff like that. Even the prop on this thing doesn't look too bad, but we're going to be pulling all that off and making sure that's good too. So has all the serial numbers on it, so it'll make it easy to get parts. And this thing is super easy to work on underneath without the without any electronics on it. So I think the only thing it does have wires for is spark coming from up underneath the flywheel. We're going to be jumping in this thing the next couple of weeks, days, months, all that good stuff. So I will have videos as they come, and hopefully you'll follow along, because this will be a fun little project. It should be a really good running motor once we get done. Stick around. There's the top plug and the bottom plug. Got the good old trusty compression checker. Mine came from Harbor Freight. Obviously they sell these a lot of places, but they do vary, a lot of them. So if you think you have a low reading but it's consistent, get another compression tester, because it maybe your tester is just, you know, not reading the right PSI. So let's see what happens. We are on 0. Make sure throttle's all the way open and pull. We're about 115. That is good. Good, good, good. And if you're working on a motor like this, the first thing you always want to check is compression. Because if you have 0 compression, then you have to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to tear this thing down and rebuild it, or if you're just going to junk it. Most people, if they're just wanting to put a carb kit in it and be done with it, they're not going to want to mess with the total rebuild. So just check and see if it's worth it to you first. All right, got our compression tester in the bottom cylinder. Let's try that one out. And let's hope, for somewhere around the same reading. Perfect. That is almost 120. It's running around 118, 119. So we're easily within specs, which means carb kit and check and spark, this thing should be good to go, hopefully. All right, next order of business, check and spark. Just a cheap little old spark tester here. And here you're also looking for the color of spark too. Not getting anything on the top cylinder. Let's try the bottom. All right, so no spark whatsoever. So that may very well be our problem. So we're gonna mess with that and try to get that figured out. Guys, it is a nice November day. It's about 80 degrees outside, so perfect for working on the Johnson. So when we left last time, I was thinking we had a power pack problem because we had no spark. So I did a little bit without recording. As you can see, I took all the wires off and everything else, and I took the power pack off to anticipate replacing it because I got a new one on the way. I mean, it's a used eBay one, but I got it for very cheap, and so it's worth it. So if it doesn't work, I'm not really out much at all. So I took it off to get ready to replace it, but I was like, you know what? Let's test it. So I got my DVA adapter here for my multimeter to read high voltage and everything else. So I put this back on here, hooked everything back up, and lo and behold, nothing out of the power pack, nothing at all. So I was still thinking power pack. For some reason, I was not thinking sensor underneath the flywheel. So what I did is I unplugged the power pack right here and tested it from the sensor side under the flywheel. Cranked it over, nothing out of here, no signal at all, no voltage whatsoever. So now I'm thinking maybe the power pack is not the problem. The power pack could be good. Maybe we have an issue with the sensor underneath here. When the magnet passes by it, maybe it's not reading it. The sensor's bad. So number one, I do have a manual on the way. If y'all remember the old ProCraft, the 150 Evinrude on there, I had a manual for that, which is what I have here, and it covers, I think, horsepower is 2 through like 175 or 200 or something like that. So, and I know these engines have not changed much. Obviously that one's an 84, this one's a 96, but as far as the 25 horses go, they've been the same for years and years and years. Even the power packs, everything, just the way everything works. However, when I looked at it, the plug, which the older manual has in it for the 25 horsepower, it was only four wires. So this one has 5. So obviously it's a little bit different setup, and it didn't really explain real well what those wires were. So we're just going to go off colors of wires and everything else, but we're going to ohm test the sensor underneath the flywheel, and we'll ohm test the power pack too, I think. So I found the procedure. I was able to decipher it through my other one. This one just has an extra one on the bottom. That's the kill circuit. So the other 4 go to the charge coil and the sensor. All right, so for the charge coil, we're going to take, I believe it's D and A together. Yeah. So we're going to insert a lead into A, insert a lead into D. And we're getting about 885 ohms. This says it's good plus or minus between 575 and 75 ohms. All right, now to test the sensor, we're going to go to B and C. So here's B and here's C. All right, we are getting 42 ohms. This is saying the sensor is good at 40 ohms, plus or minus 10. So we're at 41. That indicates that the sensor is good. All right, so now we're gonna ohm out the actual ignition coils. We have to set it to low ohm for that. So we're gonna put one end on a ground, and then one with the leads from the power pack hooked into the coil, and see what our ohm reading is. So 0.5. It's calling for 0.1 plus or minus 0.05. So that's obviously over more than allowed. Let's do the bottom one. And the same result. So now we're going to test between where the power pack plugs into the coil and where the high tension lead goes in for the spark plug. We got to set it to high ohms though. 254. Now we're going to do the same on the bottom. we're not getting any reading at all through the bottom coil. This is what I'm gonna do today. I'm not gonna risk it with these. We're gonna order a charge coil for under the flywheel, and I'm just gonna go ahead and order 2 new coils because I'm not gonna chance it with these. Number one, they're out of specs on the low volt or the low reading ohms, and this one has no continuity at all. So obviously that's out of spec on the high frequency. So let's just replace it so we don't have to worry about it. I have the other coil or the other power pack coming, which I don't think we need at all. This power pack might be good, but just like everything else in this motor, this could be bad as well. Just like I didn't even think we had a coil issue. Another issue I found, it looks like this is missing the thrust washer because there should not be that much play. Behind the nut, you might be able to see that space between the prop and the nut. And there's supposed to be a thrust washer in there. And that prevents this from happening. So we'll have to get one of those because this, I've had on a 9.9 that I had, it did not have the thrust washer, and without it, you will never get on plane. As soon as it tried to, you tried to get on plane, it just cavitated. So we'll get a new one of those. I'll just order that all in bulk with the charge coil, and both ignition coils, and we should be in business. So now we just wait for parts. Okay, so I got the factory service manual in for this engine, which was quite a bit different than the other service manual I was using for the 84. Even though it talked of similar horsepower, the power pack plug on this one is looks like it has 5 prongs, whereas the other one has 4. They're labeled pretty much the same except for E here in the middle, which is going to be the stop circuit on the bottom. Now, when I read the procedure though for testing the charge coil as far as voltage and the sensor coil, it tells you to check different prongs. For the charge coil down here on the, you're supposed to test the bottom left and the bottom right, which is prong A and prong D. I did check them individually by grounding the black lead on the meter to ground, and then check these individually and crank the motor over. If you have any voltage at all, that means you have a short somewhere, which is grounding out your charge coil. Same for the sensor coil. So I did that to both. I didn't get any readings doing it that way, so that's good. That means that there's nothing shorting out or anything like that. I'm just using a cheap meter, this one right here. This one was like $7, and I'm using a cheap DVA adapter, as you can see right there, which has the alligator clips as well. The way I'm putting in these prongs is I'm taking my regular leads that came with the meter and putting them in where they need to go, and just kind of using them as leads, really. And we're going to connect the jumpers to those. Also, this adapter was very cheap, and it works well, so I highly recommend it if you're looking. Now let's crank the motor over. I'm going to try to do this without. All right, so obviously 120, 130 volts is not going to cut it for the charge coil, because that is around 100 volts low. Now we're going to check the sensor coil, which is going to be the top 2 prongs in the leads here coming out of the stator. All right, so we're going to go to the top 2 or bottom 2, whichever you look at it. Right now it's the top 2 on the lead that connects to the power pack that comes out of the stator. All right, so around 5.5 volts, so that is good. And this is all, obviously, this is all hand cranking because this engine does not have a starter. So the manual didn't specify anything different for electric start or pull start models, which is one of the things I was really curious about because I didn't know. Obviously, electric start may spin it over faster, I'm not sure. But on the sensor coil, we got well over the minimum volts that we need to have. Also, something different that this manual specifies is the ohm rating for the charge coil, which, if you'll remember on the other one, I think it was somewhere around 200 or 300 ohms, and I thought it was bad because it wasn't plus or minus that. It's actually 900 ohms plus or minus 100, so that is actually good on the ohm test, but we're not putting out the voltage we need. Either the charge coil is bad, which I'm pretty confident it is based on our readings, or our power pack is bad, which it could be both. So I do have a new power pack coming. It was supposed to be here on Monday, and today is now Wednesday, and it has arrived and departed at the same USPS facility 6 times. I don't really know how that's possible, but it is. So we're still waiting on that, and I have to order a charge coil. But before I pull the flywheel and all that, since in theory the power pack is supposed to be here soon, I will hook the power pack up and just see what happens, see if we get voltage. I'm sure it won't run like it should because of the low voltage coming from the charge coil. I'll end up replacing it anyway, but I just want to see if the power pack is the issue too. Just kind of troubleshoot things one by one instead of throwing a whole bunch of parts at it and not really know what the big problem was. All right, I'm gonna leave this video off right here. Be sure to subscribe, like this video, because you're gonna want to stick around for the saga of this Johnson 25 horsepower, because you just never know what's gonna happen next with this thing. So stick around, and thanks for watching.